All right, so the season finale of Skeleton Crew. And I say season finale because maybe there'll be a second season, maybe there won't. But of course, there's a happy ending because this is Goonies in space, so of course it's a happy ending. Um, we finally get some payoffs. KB finally calls Kim and she sends help, which they're just patiently waiting till they bring down the barrier. So I can only assume that none of them would have been able to get through, but who knows? Um, I actually thought that there would be a trick that the barrier wouldn't have to come down and it could still come back up. They didn't destroy the barrier, they just turned it off. So they could still bring the barrier up. So it's it starts off with Jod, trying to still play the part of the emissary, and he, bows down to them, Jod Non Narwood at your service. The lightsaber was just to show that he's also a Jedi, which he's not, but whatever. And so the kids, well, Wim and Fern, especially Wim, were trying to tell the adults that this guy isn't who he claims to be. And I have mixed emotions about this one. On the one hand, I really thought that he was a decent guy because, like I said, he had an opportunity to kill the kids earlier, but then again, he probably realized he needed them to get to At-Aten, so, to get through the barrier. So there's that. But, I thought that he was going to have not necessarily a heroic turn, but that he would be more anti-hero. On the other hand, I like that they kept him a villain because there's nothing wrong with villains staying villains. There are just some people out there who are, all about themselves and just, want to get ahead no matter who they step on to get to it. So I'm glad that they kept him a villain in that regard. But, so the parents are, the kids. Why is it that everything major happens when Neil is taking a bath? But anyway, Fern and the undersecretary, her mother, take Jod to see the supervisor. And when we saw that it seemed abandoned, now I'm not sure why he insisted on taking Fern with. Maybe he figured that he needed to keep an eye on her. I'm not sure. Or maybe, as he said later, you should fill mommy in on the details, just to let her know that yes, indeed, he isn't who he says he is. But, or he thought that if one girl gets out of hand, he can threaten the other one. So he tells the security droids to watch the kids and to report to him anything that they do. Now, I thought that the supervisor was in charge. I'm not sure why they would listen to him instead of questioning the supervisor. So they go to see the droid, the supervisor, which turns out to be this, eye thing. I guess it was supposed to be some type of Hal. And he asks him, you know, the last I heard, the Jedi are enemies of the Republic. So are you a emissary or are you a Jedi? Which, number one, when was the last time he spoke to anyone about any of this? Because I don't see why you can't be both. I mean, in the old Republic, I could see that, but the new Republic? So God knows how long they've been off on their own, not knowing what's happening in the world. And Fern lets him know that he is indeed a pirate. And so supervisor's like, I figured something was up. And immediately Jod kills him with the lightsaber. And then he does the typical villain things of, first he gets Fern's mom to give the pirates access to the planet, and they immediately start destroying it. Now, at this point, I really thought that the friends that Neil made on that other planet would be among the good guys that would come to save the day, but no. So while Neil and Wim are being watched, KB Man comes along with Neil in on her hover bike, because I guess KB neutralized the security droids, because if anyone could figure that out, it's gonna be KB. Or possibly her parents. That's a possibility too. It could have been a group effort. And they pick up Wim, and the dad is trying to get to basically hotwire a car, and failing miserably because power. And that's what happened when the supervisor went down. The power went out. Everything went down when the supervisor was destroyed. And Jod decides that he's going to make this planet his personal mining planet to make credits. Continue what they're doing, but just work for him. And we find out that, we were wrong. We thought, he was in Order 66. He just escaped because, he was just trying to survive. And he became a pirate out of necessity. Not that he was actually like them. But no, it turns out he was born poor. He found a ragged-looking Jedi who, taught him some stuff, which would explain why his Force abilities are so rudimentary. It's not because he hasn't used them in so long because of Order 66. It's simply because he never developed them. And so all the kids minus Fern plus Wim's father go, and actually Wim's father, it seems like he commandeered somebody else's vehicle. that is what it seemed like. And they all outrun the pirates somehow, because basically the pirates' aim is as bad as stormtroopers, because there's no way those kids should have been able to make it as far as they did. But they make it to the ship because they decide that they have to get past the barrier and call for help. So Wim and his dad go back to the supervisor's lair, for lack of a better term, and Wim distracts Jod while Wim's father powers things back up so the Onyx Cinder can lift off. Now, I'm also kind of bummed that, they kept mentioning Tac Renaud, and what a formidable pirate he was. He was the only one who was able to get to Aten and take its treasure, blah, blah, blah. And we never saw his face, so you thought, okay, there's going to be some sort of twist. Maybe his consciousness was, made the new supervisor or whatever. Nothing. No mention of him. We know nothing about who Tac Renaud was supposed to be. So maybe there might be a season 2 where we will learn more about who Tac Renaud was actually supposed to be. So KB, and of course SM-33 is with KB, and a headless SM-33 is carrying his head, and she makes it out, and she calls Kim, and Kim is 100% on board with helping her. So Kim is the hero. She called, she's like, call your X-Wing buddies, and she's like, I'll do better than that. And then they get hit, and KB is thrown back, and I really, really was worried that her implants would malfunction again, that they would go down, and there would be another case of someone having to revive her. But that didn't happen. But the plane crashed, the shuttle crashed, and now I put that in quotes because you didn't see an explosion. You didn't hear any boom. So I was pretty sure that she was not in fact dead. But everybody seemed to think that. And Neil, sweet Neil, who is all about, unicorns and butterflies and, peace, just say you're sorry, that sort of thing. He manned the guns on top of the supervisor's tower to shoot at the pirates, to provide cover for the kids. Until he couldn't, and then he's running away with his little stubby legs. So everybody, all the kids, worked to where it was all the kids working to protect Aten. Where was I? So Jod is upset with what the kids did, not because that they would succeed, but he actually didn't want anybody to die. So I guess that makes him kind of good in that respect. He doesn't want to kill people, and certainly not the kids, but at the same time, okay, so you don't want to kill them. That's great. You just want to enslave them. How is that better exactly? So all the kids are distraught that KB is dead. Both Wim and Fern are actually crying. And so at first I didn't realize that this was a switch to turn off the barrier. It actually at first looked to me like two guns. So I thought it was some lasers that would shoot up and literally destroy the barrier, but it just brought it down. It was just a lever to bring down the barrier. And so it can easily be put back up. And John never gets his comeuppance. We never see it. Even as all the pirate ships are being destroyed, and I assume all the pirates are either being killed or captured by the X-Wings, John, you see him just standing there, pensive. So, if there's a season 2, maybe he'll be the bad guy again for season 2. Or, I was hoping that they would show us him squirming his way out of whatever fighter came and got him. So, now I thought Wim just yelled before they left Jod. My mom thought that he yelled die. So, I'm not sure what he yelled at Jod. But a bunch of pirates seemingly got away. But the main ship also was completely destroyed and kind of destroyed the planet on its way down. But so everybody goes to check on KB. And KB wakes up and just asks, did we win? And, everybody said that yes, we did. And the parents are still like, get away from there, get away from there. It's like, yeah, they kind of are aware of what they're doing. You have no idea what adventures they've been on. They'll be fine. And Fern makes this wry comment that, well, you don't have to worry about taking the test anymore, Wim. And you see him looking at all these X-Wings flying. So I guess his new passion, his new obsession, isn't going to be Jedis. It's going to be the Republic fighters, the X-Wing pilots. I mean, he'd still be doing what he wanted to do when he wanted to be a Jedi, which never showed Force abilities. When he picked up that lightsaber, I really, really thought he would turn it on and go to town on Jod. But no. No, I was kind of disappointed about that. I really thought that Wim was going to have his moment. But apparently now he wants to join the Republic. I don't know. They wanted to do a Knights of the New Republic show with when Gina Carano was still working for Disney, because she didn't decide that she wanted to blow up her career. And so maybe this is going to be the new way they can do that show, only it'll be with Wim back when he grows up, because let's face it, this show was filmed a couple years ago, so he's like 13 now. By the time they would even get around to making a second season or considering doing an offshoot, he would be old enough that he could conceivably have joined the New Republic as basically a policeman. So it's still possible. What happens with the other kids? I mean, it's possible that they might all join the New Republic. Of course, we know what happens to the New Republic, so maybe they just become mercenaries. Maybe not necessarily bounty hunters like like Mando, but maybe more like freelancers, helping where they need to be helped or whatever. Um, how all that gold ended up in the Onyx Cinder, though, is what I'd like to know. Because KB fell out into this pile of gold. Now, was that gold just sitting there and where the Onyx Cinder just happened to land? Because it seemed like when the door opened and KB tumbled through, that first a bunch of gold tumbled out. And of course SM-33, like I said, survives. A headless SM-33, but still. Leave it to KB to fix him. I mean, even her parents said that KB can fix anything. And so yeah, the kids have really grown up. They've taught their parents some stuff. It's like, you should see the rest of the galaxy and how messed up it is. But as messed up as it is, there are still good people. And they are going to help us. And they did. Now, maybe after all is said and done, like I said, they'll put the barrier back up. Or maybe not, because maybe people will like to be able to look up and see stars as opposed to the barrier. So maybe they'll be more, maybe they'll come together and decide what they're going to do. Are they going to put the barrier back up because it's safer that way? As long as a bunch of kids don't, get hijacked by a ship? Is SM-33 going to become the new supervisor? Because that something will happen to Jod. What it is, I do not know. But so far, we've seen him just watching the destruction and nothing bad happening to him. But it's still possible he could get arrested and that the New Republic fighters will take him away. Then it's a decision of whether they want a supervisor, and who it would be. Like I said, it could easily turn into SM-33. I loved the scene where the rat, was perched on KB's head, or it making friends with Neil. Now, I don't know if there's some sort of symbiotic relationship between SM-33 and that rat, or that rat just, took refuge inside SM-33 all those years that he was out of commission because, it was probably 1,000 years, 100 years, who knows, that he was decommissioned and that Tak Renaud was dead. So there's always that possibility. Let me see if there's anything else I wanted to mention of this episode. It kind of bugged me that the undersecretary acted more like not completely like a damsel in distress, but like, she's supposed to be an undersecretary. She's supposed to be quick on her feet. And Fern had to convince her to help Wim's father to pull the lever to bring down the barrier. That was rather annoying. She should have just, done it on her own. But so, yes, and I'm really curious if Neil's parents and KB's parents, whereas KB's parents were a bit more a part of things, they actually had dialogue. But Neil's parents were basically just there. I don't think they. Oh wait, I think it was the mom who talked with Wim's father earlier. But the dad was just there. He was helping to carry the kids. I mean, obviously he's a good dad, but that was about it. We didn't see much of him. Um so yeah, I hope it gets renewed. I really do. Or if not renewed, it should have some sort of an offshoot, either following, the kids as they grow up and get their own jobs and become part of, whether it is the great work or if it's as something else, like I said, Knights of the New Republic maybe, or actually I guess it could be Knights of the Old Republic still, because even though the Old Republic doesn't exist anymore, they still were under the impression it did. They still had Old Republic credits. Like I said, God knows when did the supervisor last hear about the Jedi? Because maybe under the Old Republic they were the bad guys, or they were thought to be the bad guys, but it's not like that anymore. So who knows where they think they are in the timeline? They might not be aware there's a new republic, let alone the Empire, and they probably know a bit about Sith, simply because, again, Wim was actually seen playing with Jedi and Sith dolls. So they probably know about Sith. But whether they know about the Empire and what happened with that, how much knowledge do these people have? Because apparently they haven't been visited for a long time, whatever a long time means. So it's possible that they have no clue what's going on in the galaxy. Who are the power players, who simply because they became a myth. Because of the barrier, they became a myth. Nobody believed that At-Aten existed. Even Kim, who knew about the New Republic, didn't fully believe that At-Aten existed. So of course people stopped visiting and giving them information, because how do you give information to a group of people you don't even believe exists? Let me see if there's anything else I wanted to mention. Yeah, all the kids got to play a role. Wim, like I said, helped his father get in. Wim's father played a role. The undersecretary, less so. I mean, she was able to give passage to the pirate ship to let him pass the barrier. But other than that, not much. KB's parents had dialogue, and like I said, it's unclear whether they helped with the security droid. Whether they did it or KB did it by herself, could have gone either way. Neil's parents, again, no dialogue this episode, just fear, which warranted. But the kids, they all played a role. Wim played a role. Fern played a role. I just loved how Wim tried to bullshit Jod with some story about the Jedi, because in some ways he knows more about Jedi lore than Jod. Jod had some basic Force abilities, and whoever this ragged looking Jedi was, who trained him, knew a little bit about and passed along some Jedi credo. But like I said, it was rudimentary. So I think that Wim actually knows more than Jod, even though Jod called bullshit on Wim's story, even though Fern backed it up, and long enough for Wim's father to activate the tower so KB could pull away with the ship. KB did a lot this episode. Neil did quite a bit this episode. I mean, this kid who was scared of his own shadow base, almost, to provide cover for the kids so they could get out off planet and call for help. Because he remembered that contraption existed on that other planet, which was similar to Ad-Aden. I mean, it was so great to see that the bravery that this kid was showing. So yeah, all the kids had a substantial role. The parents, like I said, Wim's father, to a lesser extent, the undersecretary, and everybody else was there. But it was a fun ride. Like I said, I hope there's a season 2. I don't know how they're going to do it. Obviously, they would have to do it with a time jump because kids have this nasty habit of growing up. So it would be obvious that these kids are not little anymore. Instead of being 12, 13-year-olds, they are 13, 14-year-olds right now. Which you wouldn't think is a big deal, but at that age is. And they haven't even renewed it yet. By the time they decide to renew it, if they do, by the time they roll cameras, who knows how old these kids would be. Or maybe they'll have a show following Jod so they don't have to worry about time jumps. Or they'll have a spin-off show showing Wim, possibly Neil, maybe all the kids working for either the New Republic or a new rebellion against the New Empire, First Order. That's what they were called, First Order. Whatever it is. But this has definitely possibilities for a second season or a spinoff of the show. I believe I've covered everything I wanted to this video. And with that, I will see you guys in the next one.